All right, Ian. We have to discuss the Intellivision Amico. I'm going to be as professional as I can from the start. I must say that without ad hominems toward the people running it or person running it, especially the person that has called us both lazy cowards. We're still going to be professional discussing this from a business aspect.
Yes.
As much as we possibly. We're going to give more respect to the person who isn't giving us respect. We'll just say that. So, the source of this information is that good old source for Amico news, amicogames.com, which is a Tumblr that literally posts memes about what's been going on with the Intellivision Amico and its CEO, Tommy Tallarico. And some of them are pretty funny, so check out amicogames.com. But we're not here to talk about memes. We're here to talk about something that warrants a little bit more discussion.
Some positions that need to be filled.
There's 4 job listings that have come up. 2, I think, have been there for months and months. I recall them coming up before, but 2 in the past week that have come up. So we're going to start from less serious to more serious as we go along here to discuss these and see if any red flags are raised. And before we get into these, this is a console that is supposed to be in people's hands on October 10th, 2020. That is less than 3.5 months away from now. That'll be 3 months on July 10th. And as we record this on June 30th, we have not heard of this being pushed back at all. If you go to the Fig site, where pre-sales have kind of been anemic since they've gone up there, now that the estimated delivery there says Q4 2020, but I believe the 10/10/20 is still on the main website here and there. So let's just go from now. And even if this is fourth quarter, some of this is troubling. We're going to get into here. But even going in reverse, Ian, in terms of how the process works on manufacturing and shipping, this would have to be completed, this console, in its entirety, I would say, in order to get people's hands by mid-October, by 3 weeks from now. Because if you're going to put these all on a huge shipping freighter, that minimally, based upon my smaller experience with the books coming from China, we're talking
6 to 7 weeks.
6 to 7 weeks, to be safe.
Right.
Something like that, sometimes longer. We'll even say 6 weeks. So you reverse
say
that,
a month and a half.
Month and a half. So that means in order to, and that's just to get on land, not then picking it up, bring it to your warehouse and fulfilling it. This has to be done, this console, in the boxes, on the freighter. I want to be even generous, and I will say by the first week of August. 6 weeks, you get to like late September.
And then it hits essential shipping, and then it gets trickled out.
This thing has to be produced and done. If you want to give them this huge benefit of doubt, we'll say mid-August.
Sure.
We'll say mid-August, which is only 6 weeks from today. That means it has to be done, finished. No more updates.
6 weeks.
You can still do stuff on the backside, but this thing has to have all the software loaded on it. It's got to be complete. All the controls got to be, everything's got to be tested and complete. In the boxes, everything. In the middle of this summer.
We still don't know that we've even seen an actual
Well, you haven't seen an actual console.
It's all renders.
They're all renders on the videos, and when Tommy in interviews has been showing are 3D printed and something 3D printed
controller shells.
And the console, that's a prototype.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, which may have the real board in it. We don't know, but we've seen nothing production yet. So they are still looking for some positions here, which is troubling to me at this date. So the engineering ones we'll go through first. They're looking for a mechanical engineer and mechanical production engineer as we do this on June 30th. These are from Indeed.com here. And hey, if you find the position from us talking about it, maybe you give us a kickback. Indeed, maybe do that. So they're seeking a innovative mechanical engineer to join a rapidly growing team. As part of our production innovation design team, you'll contribute to the successful testing and launch of the Amico console and design and development of future hardware products and peripherals. In the immediate term, this position will be responsible for conducting and documenting functional mechanical testing and accelerated life testing of Amico's hardware. Longer term, this position will assist with the design, prototyping, testing, and sourcing of future products and peripherals. So this is alarming, I think, because
we have to focus on the immediate use part, which is testing of hardware.
That has to be just about done if you're going into production.
6 weeks.
If you're supposed to be producing at minimum, we'll just say, if they want to sell a few more, let's say 15,000, because the pre-sales, as we know, are supposed to be around between 12 and 13,000. This has to be buttoned up You should have that a manufacturer model already made that you are now putting through its paces before you say, all right, hit the button, make 10,000 or 20,000 of them.
So 6 weeks to go. We're looking for people to test the system.
And document the functional mechanical testing of the in and outs of how this works. Remember we talked about the Atari VCS and how they have the documentation and everything.
Yes.
That was them getting to the point where, okay, our factory can make this product. Now we got to make sure they made it properly before we push the button or go and then produce them all. We made fun of them revealing the steps coming out, but they were going through the steps.
Sure.
It just seemed a little sloppy of us knowing them. It doesn't seem like they're at that step yet of having a factory a model ready to actually put through its actual paces.
Correct.
And test, okay, we have it here. Here's our prototype made with the actual materials that the end consumer will get. Is this properly made? Are there defects? Is this fitting properly? Is there something weird going on? You know, I don't know all the ins and outs of manufacturing, but I do know that's a part of the process there. So that's alarming, I would say. They also have a mechanical production engineer, which I guess is be working probably along with the other person here, or parts of it. Their responsibility is to manage all elements of production in our global factories, including 3D designs, databases, engineering drawings, part approvals, and engineering change orders for current products. Sorry, not future products. So it seems to me that you would need these positions in place now in order to make sure that this comes out seamlessly.
Yep. Let me read this next one. This is the one where I start to go, oh boy.
Oh, before we get there, real quick, I'll run through a couple more of these. Troubleshoot and mitigate production issues, including functional process and cosmetic changes, which goes back to my point about once the factory has a model in hand, okay, you work with
fine-tuning that model.
Because a lot of times there might be issues with it. Some things don't fit properly. Maybe there's too much heat with the board or what have you. There's always
going back to the Atari VCS, the gap is a quarter of an inch. Whatever.
We got to change the rib design to be one piece. You know, there's always going to be weird shit that comes up. My point is that if this is supposed to be in production to hit the October date, which I don't know, there hasn't been a delay that I know of yet, this has to have been fulfilled already. Like, these are positions that have to be there already. Sorry, Ian, to cut you up.
Nope.
I want to hammer that point.
No, that's fine, because it's really setting up for how bad some of this sounds, which is this next one. Senior game console firmware developer. Job description.
And this is coming from ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter. You will take on a key software position, working with the lead firmware and hardware engineers on the new Intellivision game console to help develop all the firmware and system level software to make the system run. I'm going to let that linger for a second. All the firmware and system level software to make the system run. Although your job is primarily firmware, you may be required to design simple PCBs, evaluate ICs, write drivers for them, etc. So you should be a professional embed engineer with experience in electrical design of microcontroller, microprocessor systems, but you prefer developing firmware, and that's your passion and what you will mostly be doing.
You will report to the lead firmware engineer on the project. So there is a lead here, but it seems like we still have to fulfill a key position here. A very key position.
This is... You will be responsible for helping to bring up the hardware from a firmware perspective, and for helping to write all the code that gives the machine its basic boot sequence and system loading. You'll have to work at the Linux Android driver level, but dig down into registers, etc., etc. You need to feel right at home doing this. They need a system.
I think it's interesting where we have so much focus on games, right? Because games is what people expect a game console to have. You want to play games,
and they're developing these, as far as I can tell, in Android. I mean, you can you don't need a working.
Yes.
You don't need your own. No. This is not a proprietary system.
These are not. I'm not gonna. This isn't denigrating mobile games. These are mobile games, which means you do not need to have like a dev kit to make a mobile game.
Right.
It's standardized.
They can make the mobile. They can make the games well ahead of having the final system.
Yes, which is the point. Is that other devs are getting paid. There's German people are getting grant money to make for the games, which we've talked about before, which we can touch on again, how that might be troubling with everything that's going on. But the game development in this case, not like a PS5 case or a Nintendo Switch case, the game development in this case
does not show system progress.
Does not guarantee that the system is coming along smoothly.
Right.
It doesn't. Because you're developing mobile games. Literally ones that are on a mobile device. If the two that we know about, but also, I don't know, the Moon Patrol demo on the app is literally a mobile game because it's on. Right. They're mobile games. We can't pretend they're not at this point. The system will run on a modern system on a chip, 8-core APU with GPU running a custom Linux plus Android environment. You must have experience getting Android up and running on target hardware, even if this was on a pre-developed BSP. I don't know what that is. If you've never done this, it's non-trivial. Game console running on an APU based on Linux plus Android will, of course, require hundreds of drivers. Many will be off the shelf, but you and your support team will have to modify custom drivers, especially in the areas of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
So we need drivers to be developed.
So they have
within 6 weeks.
They have to come up with the coding and firmware. If people don't realize, firmware is the communication software to make sure the hardware can run. That's what firmware is. We are still looking to find it. I don't know how much the leads are getting done, but it doesn't seem like we're close to being finished on actually having something functional. Even if you're manufacturing the console, you need to put the software firmware on that console.
Yep.
These are different pieces going on. And as far as I know, I don't think you can responsibly manufacture a console without the software and firmware all being completed.
No, I don't think
it would
you
seem
can.
haphazard to do that, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Wouldn't you have to have steps in line? Like whenever you see like prototypes of the PS5 and Nintendo Switch or old consoles, like it doesn't matter what the console looks like. Remember the Project Dolphin, for the GameCube. Mm-hmm. You develop the operating software, the environments, the firmware on the whatever hardware, whatever final way it looks is trivial compared to making sure that's done first.
Right.
Have an operating system completed. Have all the firmware completed. Now let's worry about how our console looks, what's proper for that. This is, to me, ass backwards, obviously. Because now we know from day one, when this was announced in October 2018, they just had a cute console to design. They didn't know what the hell was going to go in it. There was obviously nothing close to being finished. We have an idea for a console. And now I think this is the result of that backwards development. We are seeing it now. Mm-hmm. I think there'll be a huge struggle. I'll be shocked if this is anyone's hands on October 10th. I would love to be proven wrong, Ian, because now they've taken $1.5 million of people's money.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if this is in people's hands on October 10th. Hell, I might go a step further. I might be shocked that we'll see this year if they're this far behind. Unless they really ramp up and get this thing finished in the next, I'd say, couple of months to have it come out this year. And we didn't get to the last position yet, which we'll get to. And this has nothing to do with COVID. This is not a COVID issue. This is people developing and writing firmware and software.
This is all stuff that you can hire, discuss, talk about, phone, online, email,
yes,
work from home.
Zoom meetings.
Some.
You work off of a GitHub together and you share resources back and forth. That's how other game developers do it, even in office. So this is extremely troubling. This is what it says on the listing for a firmware developer. We are developing a game console here. That's good. It probably should have been developed by now if you're ready to go into manufacturing.
Yeah.
This is a high performance hardware platform that is size and cost restrained. So getting everything out of performance out of the hardware is imperative. MIP. I don't know what that stands for. You should be highly concerned about speed, optimization, memory allocation, cache architectures, and so forth. Blah 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 blah. And so, and another one, the embedded Android software developer. And these were posted. Oh, they were posted over a month ago. So they've been looking for these two for over a month, and they're not filled yet. This is a 2 to 3 month contract with possibility of full-time employment. This one. This is again working with hardware and firmware teams on a new video game console to develop system-level Android software to make the system run. We are not at the point where we're making the system run at this point, unless these are old job listings from ZipRecruiter. But your job will be primarily at the level of the operating system and tools. Jesus. Other senior engineers will also be brought on board, depending on the anticipated level of effort required to complete the product in a timely manner. This system, again, will run on a system on a chip. And we don't know what the board is in here yet. It's been postulated that it's a Banana Pi board. I'm not going to say that's for true. Some of the specs do line up with the Banana Pi board, which is like a $15 to $20 off the shelf Android system board there. It has not been revealed. They don't have to reveal if they don't want to, but obviously people are going to be wondering it. But to me, it's probably in that cost range based upon what this system is. It's probably something like that. Our game console will, of course, require numerous drivers. You and the other system software developers will share responsibility for writing what amounts to a new home screen for the console, plus all the software plumbing for downloading content from our servers, launching apps, and providing numerous menus and other user experiences to players. You'll also be involved in writing the code that communicates with our wireless hand controllers.
So to me,
what?
To me, I mean, this one and the other one are the most the last one are the most damning, and they've been up there the longest. So who knows if they're just old or what? But this is, I mean, very much. I cannot walk away from reading these with anything less than the assumption that this console is basically nowhere near ready. No firmware, no user interface.
We don't know if it can boot up. We've seen games being played. We have not seen whatever custom system architecture that they've come up with whatever custom board. We have not seen someone hit a button, unlike the VCS, which is now, we know it's been produced. We've not someone hit a power button, seen it come up on screen. Hey, here's the Amico screen. We booted up. Click a game to load. Let's load the game. We haven't seen that yet.
No.
That's not insider info. We haven't seen that yet. That has to exist in order to... I'm not trying to talk down to people. You have to be able to boot up a console, have everything communicate properly between your console, your controllers, be able to download content
from the web store,
have the servers be operational from their home in order to each individual's consumer base. This has to all be working before you are going to manufacture your console,
which you should probably be doing within about 6 weeks.
We're not saying it has to be 100% perfect. It has to be done, though. It has to be buttoned up, at least to that point. This tells me you're not there. You are not close to being there at this point.
Yeah.
This isn't alarmist. This is, to me, common sense. This isn't like being a hater. This is what is going on with your console.
Yeah, what's actually happening with it?
It's full stack development, this embedded Android software developer. Full stack development. I had to look it up because I didn't know what that term was. I dropped out of computer science in college. Full stack development is a full stack developer is a person who is comfortable working in the front end and back end of web development. Basically means you got to work on the server stuff on both sides.
Right.
From the outgoing and I guess the incoming messages. The communication on both ends.
That sounds like web store stuff.
It's web store stuff. It's probably updating software. Hell, I don't know if there's clarifications yet about this, about if this is out of the box, you can play this without an internet connection. My guess being that this is mostly digital games, you're going to have to require an internet connection to get up and running and to register.
Right.
So these are all things you need. By the way, we don't even know at this point, this is an aside that's small, since this is something that Tommy tried to do a gotcha. We don't even know what the physical media format is on this console yet.
If there's going to be one, I very innocently said something about there not being physical media on it because it was not announced anywhere. And he came back, and I don't know if it was trying to, try to
gotcha, like the price thing, which we were right on in the end.
Right. Yes. It was like, oh no, we didn't say that there's never going to be any. There might. We're looking into it.
Which is funny because I wonder how many of the
not everything requires an answer back.
I think it's funny. I wonder how many of the people that pre-ordered this Intellivision, put down their deposit, realize that they're not getting what they consider to be a real physical format. I haven't seen a card slot or a cartridge slot or anything, or even like a little switch slot on here. The rumor I saw was that, again, this is a rumor I heard, that it's basically your physical media will be an RFID card that your system scans and it downloads
it. So it's not really physical.
So it's not. It's physical in a sense, but it's not physical.
Right. It's like going to. It's like there's been a few games who released like physical cases with a download card inside.
Sure.
So you could have it on your case. Like DuckTales did that initially. The DuckTales remaster.
Sure, but an RFID chip is through the air though.
Yes.
So it's basically going to be a command to say, oh, this person bought it, like a gift certificate. download it from the server.
What I'm saying is it leaves you with it's you're buying a digital
It's a
game.
token.
It leaves you with a trinket.
It's a trinket.
Yeah, leaves you with a trinket.
But it won't be a cartridge, and it probably won't be what we know, a little Switch flash card.
Right.
That you put.
But anyway,
I
I want to stay away from rumors and kind of end it there, just because that's literally what he's always jumped back on, was these little things like that. I want to focus. And
Yes.
I want this to be what we're left with.
Firmware still being developed, which makes your console run. We don't know if you can boot up this console yet. We haven't seen any evidence that this console is bootable at this point. Full stack development, so server communications.
We still need driver development.
We need driver development. We need communication between, according to these job listings, between the console and the controllers. There has to be communication.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be in people's hands in a little over 3 months. That ain't going to happen. I mean, I guess if you rush to do this and then ship them by air quickly within a week to get some of them, but the cost of doing that, at least based upon the books, is massive. But you could do that. Maybe just to make that date, you may make 100 of them or a few hundred. I mean, the Atari VCSs have made, I think they were probably made like 100 or 150 recently. That was the last update. But the VCS is produced. It's done. So we it's a real product.
Still a waste of money, but
yes,
it's done.
But it's a real product. It might be a piece of shit product, but the Atari VCS is a real product. They are miles ahead of where the Intellivision Amico is at this point. And I don't care if you tap who came along on your project, who used to work at a prestigious company 20 years ago or 30 years ago. This is, to me, troublesome. And I hope this is focused on more and more as we go forward. Don't worry about what game you could play that looks like it's developed, because guess what? That game could run on your Android or iPhone if it wanted to. That's not the issue. The issue is, are you going to have the console to create this artificial environment to play the mobile games? Where is that at? Like, where is that to play these games? The games being developed isn't the issue, because those games, I guarantee you, if this console doesn't last a while, which I'll put my betting money on, we'll probably see those games end up elsewhere. It would be smart to have those games end up elsewhere.
Maybe an Intellivision pack on the Switch.
Maybe.
Like we had talked about before.
Or on my phone. Like, that would be a smart thing, unless there's an exclusivity contract that they'll have for that. But yeah, look these up. We'll list them unless they go away by the time we come out with the video segment. But I took screen captures just in case they change this. But again, they're looking for people to basically make this system, environment, and console. They're basically looking for people to make the console. I mean, on a software and firmware
It's
level.
like they focused on these games for so long and then realized, oops, we need something to play it on.
We got the games done, which is
games and controllers.
Games and controllers. We're not worried about the environment itself and how this is going to communicate with our servers and being able to function once you actually have it at home and hook it up to a TV. What's going to happen? Will it be as usable as a toaster oven in order to play games, or will this actually function? So